Thank you. This year has been a crazy year. Can I tell you that? I sat in this committee along with Jim Jordan and several of you on the opposite side of the aisle when we were doing impeachment. That was the last crazy thing that happened in this committee room. And geez, I wonder, Mr. Jordan, do you think this select subcommittee is going to investigate what Democrats were doing while President Trump was banning flights from China? Maybe it was impeachment. What do you think?
I doubt if they look into that. My guess is that committee, the Democrats in that committee, will be talking a lot like Mr. Raskin did, ranting and raving and going after the President of the United States, who, as you pointed out, when he did suspend travel from China, Democrats, the mainstream press, all complained about it, criticized him for it, but in hindsight, it was a great move. So my guess is you're going to get more of this. And if I could, we've had 3 Democrats now mention the Benghazi Select Committee, which I was on, which was formed 2.5 years after the tragedy took place that night, September 11, 2012, after the Secretary of State refused to even nominate someone for the Inspector General's position at the State Department. The Obama administration didn't have an Inspector General. After the Secretary of State told the American people that it was a video that caused it, when the day after we had the transcript she did with the Egyptian Prime Minister where she said, we know the film had nothing to do with it. It was a planned attack, not a protest. 2.5 years after we learned the Secretary of State destroyed 30,000 emails, and you guys want to bring that up as a comparison? You've got to be kidding me. 2.5 years after the Attorney General Holder did nothing to look into it, unlike Mr. Barr, who's already doing things, unlike the FTC, it's already doing things we learned today on the Judiciary Committee, and you guys want to bring up Benghazi. I didn't bring it up. You guys did. I wasn't going to say anything until Mr. Raskin and the chairman and Mr. Perlman brought it up. So we got 8 entities looking at this right now, but we got to have a 9th, because the 9th's going to do just what our colleague Mr. Raskin did, criticize the president. We know what's going to happen. There are going to be hearings in an election year, this election year, this summer, where we have speeches just like our good colleague and friend from Maryland just gave. That's what we're going to have, and we all know it. And we can pretend that's not what it's going to be, but the American people understand what's happening here.
Well, Mr. Jordan, I think you're right. And Mr. Raskin, your allegation of counterfeit outrage and the rhetoric that you gave just proves our point. It proves what we think is going to happen about this committee. And the only purpose that I believe for this extra oversight committee is another way, another venue to criticize the President of the United States. I mean, ever since January of 2019, I serve on 3 different committees, Rules Committee, Homeland Security Committee, and Judiciary Committee. And in all of the committees, although Rules, I have to say, has been the most civil, it seems like there's a concerted effort by my Democratic colleagues, must be coming down from their leadership is my guess, that the whole purpose of this all of 2019 and into 2020, when the impeachment, was to criticize the President of the United States. It starts out with every, the people they bring forward in the committees, and they accuse the Customs and Border Protection officers of child abuse and negligent homicide. And I mean, it's just over the top. And you get, some people at home, including my husband, go, how can you sit through this? How can you sit through this and listen to this rhetoric over and over again? And, sometimes it's really hard. I have to admit, it's really hard. And you may think I'm doing rhetoric, but I'm not saying outlandish things like I just heard. I mean, Mr. Raskin, I hope you see, maybe you don't, that what you just did, all this rhetoric, all this complaining, criticizing the president, is exactly what we believe the whole purpose of this subcommittee is, and you're just proving the point. Mr. Jordan, do you have anything else you would like to add?
I mean, no, I mean, we referenced the cost of the Benghazi Select Committee. My guess is the Mueller special counsel investigation, which came back and said no collusion, no conspiracy, no coordination, $30 million, 19 lawyers, all kinds of subpoenas, all kinds of taxpayer resources. I think that's a comparison that's worth noting as well. Look, let's do the oversight we're supposed to do. I wish every single committee would meet just like we are here. This room should be booked every day, maybe. Committees coming in doing the oversight. I'm fine with that. Mr. Woodall said, I've been on the oversight committee for a long time. I'm fine with that. We should do it in the oversight committee. We should do it. Why is the oversight committee meeting right now, looking at the World Health Organization? For goodness sake. We give American taxpayer dollars and they lie to. Our colleague from Texas said it best. We don't have to give organizations money to lie to us. They'll probably do it for free. So why not have them in here where we can bring people in? We got Americans in context there. Bring them in to have those kind of hearings. Have the subcommittees of energy and commerce, ways and means, small business, financial services, have them meet, do the oversight. I'm fine with that. I want all that. I think that's important. Everyone does. What we don't want is another political committee using taxpayer dollars to attack the person that 63 million Americans voted for and the Democrats tried to impeach just a few months ago. And that impeachment effort probably impeded our effort to deal with this virus we find ourselves confronting right now.
And Mr. Jordan, I have one last question. On here, it looks like we're authorizing another $2 million in expenses for this subcommittee when we already have other order. I don't know how much this costs. Do you think that it's possible that they're going to hire outside attorneys like they did with the Judiciary Committee? I mean, is that a normal amount of money? I don't know. You've been on government and
look, I haven't even read the whole bill yet because we got it 15 minutes before we walked in. I was working on our comments, so I'm looking through it. There are sections that stand out to me. Executive branch, internal, external communications related to the different things it says in here. Who knows? What I know is what's happened for the past 3.5 years. What I know is what happened prior to the president even being elected, when the FBI spied on 2 people associated with his campaign, and we know that they misled the FISA court because we've had the Inspector General. The Inspector General issued a report that told us that took place, confirmed everything we suspected. The only thing that we had wrong, those of us who've been looking at this issue for several years, the only thing we had wrong was it was worse than we thought, based on what Inspector General Horowitz has now informed the Congress and the American people.
Thank you, Mr.